When I was a third-year medical student going through core rotations, I found it difficult to get exposure to pathology. Aside from an occasional frozen section during surgery and chart reviewing lab results on internal medicine, there was no great way to get pathology experience. For most students, they go through third year and then begin taking board exams and apply for residency shortly after. Where does pathology experience fit? Well, without a formal required pathology rotation, this can be very challenging. And to be honest, most pathology programs want to see some form of pathology experience on your application. So how do you get pathology experience before then? I knew of upperclassmen at my medical school who had done away rotations, and I learned that you could actually travel to different institutions and quote-unquote audition at your top program. That sounded like a very smart idea, so I decided to give it a try. Fortunately, I was accepted to participate in a couple away rotations at various programs of interest, and this gave me a tremendous experience, which I will share with you all throughout this presentation. While listening to this, you are probably thinking about away rotations for pathology and wondering what you need to do. Well, you are in luck. I will share my own experience with you all, medical student to medical student, and hope you walk away with an understanding about the ins and outs of the Visiting Student Learning Opportunities FeesLow application and how to excel on your away rotations. My name is Meredith Herman, and I'm a fourth-year medical student from Michigan State University, College of Osteopathic Medicine, and I am presenting to you today, Guide to Away Rotations. In this presentation, we will cover a couple of commonly asked questions, and I hope that this presentation will answer these for you. Why do an away rotation? Some of you may be asking yourselves this. Well, there are four main reasons that I want to share with you and bring to your attention. Number one, gain pathology experience. This is one of the most important things that programs look for in the residency applicants. Pathology experience gives you an understanding about the specialty, and it lets the program know that you have done your research and you know what you are getting yourself into. Number two, getting 1 to 2 letters of recommendation from a pathologist. Without a post-sophomore fellowship or any prior work experience, getting a letter from a pathologist is very difficult without a formal pathology rotation. So doing an away rotation gives you the opportunity to get a letter of recommendation or two from a pathologist that you work with. 3, a month at your top program. This may be really obvious to most of you, but it's very important. Having a month of experience at your top program allows you to get to know the people, the program director, allows you to work in the hospital with them and really get a good idea of what this program is and determine if it's a good fit for you. And likewise, they will likely like you back and want to interview you and have you as a resident. So this is a chance to shine. And number 4, connect with mentors. This is so important in pathology as it is a very small specialty, and the people you know can open up doors for you and help you get future jobs, etc., etc. So as you meet people along your journey through electives and you explore your top program, you will be able to walk away with a very meaningful experience. So for me, doing an away rotation was very important as I wanted to see some programs in person, especially ones that are outside of my home state and that were not available to me at my home institution. I wanted to see if the place was a good fit for me as a person and see the personality and vibe of the program. Some places I had never been to before, and I really wanted to see if I could see myself living there every day for the next couple of years. So it really helped set me up for a great experience and was able to talk about it on my applications and interviews. Now, I want you to know that away rotations are not required or necessary, and a lot of programs understand that it may not be feasible for everyone to do away rotations. So just getting some form of pathology experience, either at your home institution or a medical examiner's office or a private practice pathology group, that might give you a really good experience to add to your applications, and it shows the programs that you have put some time and thought and effort into learning about pathology. And to prove it to you, the NRMP put out a survey every year about qualities that the program directors look for in their applicants and whom to interview. As you can see, the top 3 rated categories is letter of recommendation in the specialty, meaning they want to see a pathologist write you a letter of recommendation. at least 1 to 2 of them. 2 will make you highly competitive. They want to see in your personal statement that you have a good understanding of pathology, and you can share your experience on away rotations and what got you involved in pathology. And number 3, they want to see your commitment to the specialty. And this can be done a lot of different ways, but I think for most programs, they may honestly classify this as involvement in pathology interest groups, elective experiences, etc., etc. But don't worry, I know you've all worked hard and you've done well on your exams and you've succeeded in medical school this far. And I just want you to know that these 3 things can really make you stand out as an applicant and help open the door for you to get interviews at your dream programs. So what is a pathology elective and what does it entail? Well, there are several variations of pathology electives that I want you to be aware of. Most all of them are observerships, whereby you are mainly watching and learning each day. You will likely have no responsibilities for grossing or frozen sections, but you will be able to participate in some components of the program whereby you participate in previews and sign out of specimens. You get to observe grossing, autopsies, etc. Some programs offer a general overview rotation where you see a bit of everything at that program. And these are great because it gives you a thorough inside look into the program. You get to see different sites that the residents work at, you meet a lot of people, see different subspecialties and how the workflow is at each place. On one elective, I had a similarly formatted elective experience, so each day I was on something different. I would do a day on autopsy, I would do a day or 2 on GU, a day or 2 on GI. So this gave me a very good understanding of the program, which is what I was there for. I wanted to see what the entire program had to offer. The other rotation setup is a subspecialty elective, whereby if you are very interested in a particular specialty like neuropathology or forensics or clinical pathology, you can spend a whole month in that. And those are great because you get to explore your passion and you get to spend a whole month immersed in that field. The downside of that is you don't get to see everything else of the program. And as an incoming resident, you want to see as much as you can. So during those subspecialty rotations, you may want to reach out to the coordinator and try to schedule in some time to tour the other facilities and get to meet other residents and learn about different rotations available in the program. And then there is the acting internship rotation, which you will see a lot on the VSLO application. This is far less common as these basically are very involved electives and they basically have you work as a resident, and I have not come across any elective that was as involved as that. For acting internships, I would equate that more with a post-sophomore fellowship, which is a year of experience in pathology during medical school. But I do not expect that these elective rotations will be acting internships. They will not want you having a role of a resident yet. So just take that time to be a medical student and to observe and learn as much as you can during your observership. So what does your day-to-day look like on an elective? So if this is your first time doing a pathology rotation, you are in for a treat. I guarantee you will participate in all of these different things on your elective and you should see it at least once. So what sorts of activities will you be able to see and do? Well, depending on what you're assigned to, your morning will typically begin around 8 a.m. and end around 4 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You will meet the attending or resident you are assigned to work with and get to know the game plan for the day. Depending on the service and format of the rotation, you will have morning didactics, slide preview time, sign out, calls for frozen section, interspersed throughout the day, and some grossing. Some days will schedule you for lab tours and autopsy days. And an important note is that you may request to see more of any area of interest. For instance, I really enjoyed surgical pathology, and I expressed that to my coordinator in advance. So they paired me up with additional days and attendings to work with in more AP-related topics like GI, GU, GYN. So as you can see in this slide, you can see a frozen section being performed. You will be able to be a part of observing the intraoperative consultation during surgery. When they are asking for margins, you get to help be a part of that and determine if margins are negative or positive for cancer. And as you can see below, they're at a multi-headed microscope and the surgeon is pointing at the screen, probably asking the pathologist what they see, or if it's what they're going to call this positive or negative margin. And to the right, you can see an attending working with a student, looking at a gross specimen or an autopsy case. So you get a lot of one-on-one time, and most of these attendings and residents are very interested in teaching, and they want to help give you the best experience possible. What else might you encounter? A lot of your time will be spending time at the multi-headed microscope, where you get to sit with an attending and residents and look at slides and cases throughout the day. This is a great opportunity to learn histology and pathology, and they will teach you what features they look for to diagnose specific entities. And to the right, you see a pathology assistant grossing a specimen, so you get to spend some time seeing how surgical cases are processed through the laboratory and how they're sectioned and sent off for slides. And in the bottom left, you can see a laboratory, so you get to get a tour through the clinical laboratory and see the automation and how specimens are processed from the patient bedside to the final result. And this is very fascinating, especially if you're interested in clinical pathology. But very, very good idea to get a tour through the laboratory if you get a chance. So how do you choose a program? Well, there's a lot of things that go into deciding, and it's honestly up to you. Most obviously, the reason to do an OA is to put your foot in the door of the program that you're considering for residency. And it's very clear to programs when a fourth year student rotates there that they have interest in pathology. And they will likely offer you an interview so long as you meet their criteria and cutoffs and they like you as a person. So, being at a specific program will help them match a name to a face and make yourself memorable. And this is your chance to make a good impression. With that being said, apply wisely and thoroughly research these programs before you apply. Doing an away rotation at an institution can open up an entire region of the country that you may have no idea what is in store for you there. So for location, you may apply to a specific region that you have family ties to or that you enjoy living in. So for me, I enjoyed the Midwest as a Michigander. I have grown up here, but I wanted to open up my mind to going other places. So I explored Northeast programs and Southern programs, etc., etc. So this is your time to explore a variety of places and get a feel for different parts of the country. Another decision factor when deciding to do an elective is if that residency program offers fellowships. The convenience of having many fellowships at the residency program is that it is simply convenient. You don't have to worry about applying to other places and moving out of the area again for a fellowship. Now, it just depends what your interests are throughout residency, but it may be beneficial to have that opportunity, but is not required. Research opportunities are also important. Do they have a specific area of research that you want to do? Do they have digital pathology research? Do they have a specific type of project that you want to pursue as in a physician scientist track, whatever it be? This is your chance to explore that and decide on going somewhere where they have those opportunities. Family is also an important aspect. If you have family in the area and you want to stay in a specific region, you can tailor your electives to be in that particular area. And also the culture. Do you fit in there? Would you be happy there as a resident? And honestly, sometimes you can only learn that by being there in person. So if that program is really high on your list, it might be a good idea to check it out and make sure that it is somewhere you want to be. And some resources to use when you're doing your search for residency and also for these electives is you can use Residency Explorer, which you can type in your information and see if you meet the criteria of their matched residents, especially for board scores and experiences and such. You may also use AMA Frida. That's another resource to use when looking up residency programs. And then there's also the VSLO application where they list all the electives that you can apply for. You may use any one of these. I personally used the Residency Explorer and VSLO simultaneously to determine if I would be a good candidate for those programs. How much does it cost? Well, I'm not going to lie, these are expensive. It does cost you quite a bit, especially in today's day and age. There are travel expenses that may be very important factors in your ability to go. So sometimes, uprooting somewhere for an entire month can come with a lot of its own costs, and that's a personal decision for you to make. Housing is one of the biggest places where money is spent. So finding an arrangement in a hotel or long-term stay place, that can run up thousands of dollars. Additionally, there are some scholarships that can offset some of the costs of these electives. URIM is a scholarship opportunity that you may explore, and there are some program-specific scholarships, but it really is program specific, and you may or may not qualify for them. And some programs may provide housing, some may provide parking and bus passes, so I would recommend you ask about those things before you apply for the elective, especially if money is a concern for you. So when do you apply? Well, that's a very good question because there is a timeline. Beginning your third year of medical school, you will want to start thinking about this. Between September to January, as you're going through your core rotations and you're learning about every other specialty, you want to make sure you're up to date on your compliances. Of course, your school will probably be making sure that you're up to date anyway, but just make sure that you have all the requirements in as a medical student, and also these away rotations will ask for some of the similar compliances to be completed. You may begin researching programs that you want to apply for and see if they offer an elective for visiting medical students. So early in the year, I reached out to programs individually and asked if they had any VSLO opportunities and when they would be posted. And I also asked what kinds of electives would be open. Some programs will offer a variety of electives, and it really depends on what you're interested in doing. So once April rolled around, I began looking at VSLO very frequently as programs were gradually added to the system. So I would check every day or every other day and save electives and begin gathering my application materials to submit as soon as the application allowed. I continued to reach out to program directors with questions, especially about deadlines, if it was not listed on their website. And then when April to June rolls around, you will start hearing back about program decisions, and that is tracked in VSLO, and I will walk you through that. And throughout that time, I would apply for additional electives if I had an open month that I wanted to fill in with a pathology elective or something else. And so that is a very busy time, and it just takes time and preparation and making sure that you have everything in as soon as the application is due. And then July through December is when you complete your away rotations, and that is also when interview season is. So if you would like to be at a program that's your number one or number two, try to get those rotations fit into your schedule between July and August, even into September and October. November, December may be a little bit late, but you can still do an elective at your program as well. So what do you need to apply? This may be the most boring part of the lecture. Feel free to skip over it, but I will go through some very important information that you should know as an applicant. Most all programs will require that you have good academic standing, passed your first set of boards, completed core rotations by the time you start the elective, have interest in that program either through a personal statement or a statement of interest, and program-specific requirements, which I will go through for you shortly here. This is a supplemental documentation checklist that my school provided, which I am sharing with you here. I found it very useful to make sure I had all my documents put together and uploaded into VSLO before I started applying for electives. As you can see, there's a lot of basic materials, so there's the HIPAA certificates, ACLS, BLS, COVID vaccine card, all of those things need to be completed by the time you apply. For pathology, do not worry so much about scrub training, but some places do ask for it. So I would be very aware that most programs will want a variety or mixture of these documents. And my recommendation is to get these uploaded to VSLO as soon as you can, get them out of the way so you can focus on your boards and you can apply as soon as possible without any delays. And of course, I cannot go through this presentation without mentioning Dr. Mirza's amazing presentation about personal statements. Putting the person in personal statement is a phenomenal webinar that Dr. Mirza presented with True Learn and Picmonic and the Match Summit. This was just a phenomenal overall view of how to write a personal statement. And this is good because you're going to have to write a personal statement anyways for residency. So crafting this up now for your applications and elective opportunities will save you a lot of time and energy. And programs want to know if you actually want to do pathology and if you have interest in their program. The link is here. You may type it in and search for it online. Now, that being said, not every application will ask for a personal statement, so you may upload it into the short bio section on the first page of your application. Some may skip over it and not notice it, but it is a small little box where you may put your personal statement in there. And while it may not be required, it might help. I will be honest, I did not submit my personal statement in the bio section for most all my applications, and it didn't really hinder my ability to get an elective. But if you want to, you may feel free to put your personal statement in the bio section if it does not ask for a personal statement in the application. Now, requirements and responsibilities. This comes down to the VSLO application nitty-gritty details of the documentation. As an applicant, you will upload most everything, but there are some things that your homeschool needs to upload for you to maintain confidentiality and validity of your application. So your school will upload your transcripts, letters of recommendation, liability insurance, and letter of good standing. Communicate with your school to make sure they have that in for you when you need it by. So how do I apply? Well, this is one of the most important parts of this presentation, and I will show you here. So, best time to apply is March through May. You use the VSLO website, and that is where you apply to your electives and have everything submitted for institutions to review. How do I make a schedule? For me, I wanted to start doing electives after my board exams, so I split up my schedule by 4-week increments, and then I applied for one elective per 1 month. Do not apply to electives that overlap in time. That can cause issues because programs are not going to be willing to be flexible with you, especially if you've booked another elective. So make sure you do not overlap your elective dates. The peak time to away rotate is July through October, and peak interview season is at the end of October through November. So make sure that you take that into account when you're scheduling electives. If you're at your top institution in November, you're probably going to miss a lot of days. So best to schedule a lighter elective or an online elective so it does not conflict with your rotation at your elective. How do I find an elective? Well, this is the VSLO interface. There's a top right tab where you can click and you can filter out electives. So you can filter it out by specialty and location, and you can sort through all the different electives and choose the ones you want to apply to. So this is what it looks like. Now, when you choose a program and you want to apply, you're going to click apply, and you're going to select it, pick a date range, upload the documents. As you can see on this picture, that this is a representation of the types of documents they wanted uploaded into the application. And then you click submit and pay. Tell the coordinator at that program that you've submitted the application, and you should have prior communication beforehand to let them know you're interested. And then they can quickly review your application. And then you wait for a decision between a couple weeks to a month or two, and then you hear back whether or not they've approved you for that time frame. And they may ask you to upload additional documents, so just be on top of the application and make sure you have everything in on time. Once it's submitted, you can track it under the track applications on VSLO, and you can see where your application is at. So here you can see I applied to an elective, and it was under home review where it goes straight to your medical school for approval and additional documents to be uploaded and verified. Then it goes to the host institution, so it'll say that it's in progress or completed. So at this point, I had not heard back from the elective, and I was waiting. And then it'll finally ask you for a student decision where you can confirm and accept the elective. So when you're waiting, the application will go to your school, they will verify everything, and it takes a couple months. And then the program coordinator from that institution will reach out to you. But you may also reach out with questions. Watch for deadlines, make sure you have everything in on time, and continue to apply to other electives in different months. Do not apply for electives in overlapping months of something you've just submitted. That is my biggest piece of advice. You will finally receive a confirmation email. from VSLO to go back into VSLO application and accept your offer. You will want to do 3 things. 1, accept offer, click show requirements in the top right screen. You will say hide requirements, but that's after you've clicked on that. It'll show you a drop-down menu of things they want completed. And then they will want you to upload additional verification forms and CV, resume, drug screen, etc. And then you click submit requirements on the bottom right. And you may always confirm with the institution that they received everything properly and make sure your application went through. After that, you notify your school that you have an elective rotation so they can add it to your schedule and give you credit for it. You'll want to forward that to your school and make sure you know your school's policies and requirements, and so you have no issue with getting approval on both ends. So what if you've submitted and you haven't heard any communication whatsoever? The best way to approach this question, usually it's due to them being very busy and processing applications. You may send an email, and the way I would phrase it would be, dear Mr. or Miss Dr. So-and-so, I recently submitted an elective application for such and such rotation. When should I expect to hear back? And can you please confirm that all documents were received? I look forward to hearing back soon. And this just tells the program that you are waiting and you're curious to know when you'll hear back. And a lot of times programs will let you know we're deciding on such day. And after that, just leave it at that and let them get back to you when they're ready. What if I get rejected? Some students apply to electives and they don't hear back or they get rejected, and that can happen. Just so you know, a rejection does not mean a no or never. It does not mean that you will never get interviewed there for residency. A lot of times it just has to do with scheduling and availability. So what you can do is you can ask for feedback to make sure there's nothing in your application that prevented you from getting the elective. And reach out and ask if there are other availabilities, other months where you can apply. And a lot of times program coordinators will let you know whether or not that's feasible. So what if I cannot get an elective at all? Maybe you are applying, or maybe you're an international medical graduate and don't have access to VSLO. There are a few ways that you can go about this. There are way more options than this, but here are some that come to mind. And this can be put onto your residency application to account for pathology experience. So how does this look? Well, you can utilize pathollective.com and say that you went through all the modules and you completed them and you learned about pathology through those modules. You can utilize Match to Path for different blog posts and webinars and still stay informed about things going on in pathology and things you need to know about your application. You may also enroll in virtual electives. I know that Loyola does one, and I'm sure there are many others out there. So just be savvy and connect with different programs and see what they can do for you. Connect on Path Twitter. This is a huge networking tool, and you get to know a lot of people across the globe through that. Get involved with PathSig, attend those events and meetings. You can get involved in other pathology groups. Just be as involved as possible. You may attend open houses, which start later in August. Get to learn about other programs that you're applying to for residency and be as informed as possible. You may go and visit programs. You may drive around the area and see if you want to live there. You may also try to reach out to the program directors and see if they'd be willing to meet and chat with you about questions that you have about the program. You can work in a community practice pathology. You may work with the medical examiners. You can be creative and basically just ask if you can work with them for a couple weeks and if they'd write you a letter at the end of it. There are certain ways of phrasing it, but having a smaller practice pathologist work with you can be very valuable, especially since a lot of university hospitals may have red tape that prevent international graduates from rotating through. You may participate in research projects that can add to your publications and research experience on your application. And of course, attend virtual and in-person conferences. So you get to network with people in person and you get to attend different seminars and learn about pathology that way. So these are just a couple of options. If you know of more, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. There's a lot out there, and I hope that this is helpful for you. So now you get to your pathology elective, and you are excited and you're going to start the first day. So what are some tips and tricks that you can use on your pathology elective? Well, my most important advice to give to you and I'm sure a lot of people will agree, is be your best self. You are there for an entire month. You are quote unquote auditioning. So you are showing that program your best aspects and how you would be a good fit in that program. So by doing that, you can get to know everybody, talk with people, just be friendly, be yourself, show a sense of humor, and always be willing to participate in different activities like didactics. Showing up to those shows that you're interested in learning about pathology and that you want to be there. Be willing to come early and stay late and help out. One of the things that people really liked at places I rotated was that I was able to help out when things were really busy, or that I was very eager to learn and ask a lot of questions and was always interested in the subject. Another way to stand out is by just getting to know the program. Ask questions and show that you have knowledge about pathology and residency, and that you have an idea of what you're looking for and what residency entails. And explore the program. You're there for a month. Why not explore the area and see what living situations are like, the fun activities people do around there. This is your time to pretend to be a resident there and see if you can visualize yourself living there for the rest of residency. Some other advice is be prepared. There's something that stands out to residency programs is when they see that you've been reading and you take initiative to understand topics, and you can express that you understand a certain topic and that you've read a certain thing to the attendings that you're working with. So by doing that, you can read Malabi's Practice of Surgical Pathology. Most programs will have that book available to you, where you can download it online or buy it, a hard copy. You may utilize patholective.com, which has a lot of modules on specific topics. So if you are on a GYN rotation, you may watch the modules for the GYN pathology. You can utilize Kurt's notes to review topics and refresh your memory about different features of pathology that you can look for to diagnose pathology. And you can also rely on Path Twitter. There's lots of material on there via Kiko or Path Presenter, virtual slides, cases of the month. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge out there that you may utilize. You may also utilize slide boxes that are dispersed around the residency program, so be sure to ask if there's a slide box and a microscope you can use, and just show that you're trying to learn and study slides and ask questions, and use the time to not only learn about the residency program, but learn a little bit about histology while you're there too. And as always, ask questions. It never hurts to ask questions. So when you're working with residents, why don't you use that time to ask questions about the program and get their advice on things? For all you could be their future colleague. So make sure you're cordial with them and work with them well. And use that time to ask them questions about the residency program and how happy they are there. So this is an excerpt from the Don't Forget to Ask advice from residents on what to ask during residency interview. The link is available in this QR code, or you can type in the link there. This is a very helpful resource of things that you want to ask when you are not only auditioning, but applying to programs. So being there in person, you can start asking questions that you would ask on residency interviews. And that way you can actually see it in person and see what the workflow is like and see the pros and cons in person versus just asking over virtual. How am I evaluated? That's a very good question, and this can play a lot into your medical school evaluations, your MSPE, medical student performance evaluation form that goes with your residency applications. And also, more likely than not, that program may keep a file with comments made about you during your rotation, and they may reflect on that when they go to interview you and rank you. So the most important thing that these programs evaluate is how you treat others from day one. Programs want nice people who are down to earth and have humor and can work well with others and is a good team player. All the best qualities that you have to bring, they are looking for that, and they want to see that you can treat everyone well, even down to janitors, secretaries, pathology assistants, attendings, residents, fellow medical students on the rotation. They will value how you treat them. They want to see you have interest in pathology, that you're engaged, that you want to be there. They may ask you to do an end of rotation presentation on an interesting topic. They may grade you on that. They may also evaluate you based on your personality fit in the program. They may like you as a person, but they may think that you may be better suited at another program. So it really comes down to personality. They may also evaluate you based on exit interview and how that goes. And they can also evaluate you based on a slide exam. One place I did a rotation at is I had to do a slide exam on my last day, and they graded me just to see my improvement in pathology. So that's a chance to shine and show that you've been studying and trying to learn pathology best you can throughout the month. And don't forget to always ask for feedback as well throughout the entire rotation. All right, so you've done a whole month at your program of interest, and you've done an elective, and you learned a lot and had a great time. So how do you end the path elective and leave on a good note? Well, first and foremost, meet with the program director. That is one of the most important things you should do and always do. Let them know you've appreciated the experience and tell them thank you, and make sure you just have one-on-one time to ask them questions and get to know them as a person, and they get to know you, and then they connect a name with a face. Make sure to secure your letters of recommendation from your letter writers. Make sure they know the deadlines when you need it in by, and maintain communication with them. Make sure you have your evaluations collected for your school if you need that for credits, or if you need it for your MSPE. Make sure you keep in touch, so have a way to communicate with people via text or email or Twitter. Make sure you're connected and always staying in touch with them. And make sure to attend the residency open house. That shows a lot of interest that you are applying to their program. And again, from that, the AAMC, don't forget to ask, PDF, this is an excerpt for the section of what to ask program directors. And I would just look through this quickly before I met with the program director to make sure I asked some of these questions. And a lot of times these program directors were very honest with me about them. And I think it's great to look for transparency in how well they answer these questions. Because keep in mind, you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. So just keep that in mind. You may also find the Pathology Residency Guide on this QR code, which also has a lot of other advice on how to go about the residency application and away rotations. And more importantly, you may also want to ask some questions to yourself. Is this program a good fit for me? Would I be happy here as a resident? Will this program help me meet my professional goals? And does this program help meet my needs? Like visa, proximity to family, research, fellowships, etc. Be honest with yourself. Even if they are a top name program and you just had a miserable month, be honest with yourself. Say, I would not be happy here. And be true to yourself and stick with your gut. And now with that, we talked about timelines. Make sure you know when ERAS is due, which is in September. And between end of September through January, you get interviews and you start ranking your rank list, and then you have match. So it's a very fast process, and it moves very quickly. But you will have a great time, and I hope you enjoy your experience. So with that, best of luck. And of course, reach out with any questions, and I'd love to hear about your experiences on path electives, and stay in touch on Twitter.